Hey guys, welcome back to the Power Play here on WDSR Student Radio at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, where two of the three of us are Penguins fans, but we cannot forget that Chris is a huge Boston fan. Boston. And he has been replaying the overtime winning goal pretty much since he sat down in the studio. So, Chris, we will give you...
Take it away.
We will give you your moment to...
You need to explain how you ended up a Boston fan from
Yeah,
Australia.
I really
I have to
wanna
turn
know.
it on and it'll play, I promise.
Okay, let's go. I'm ready.
Good?
Showtime.
For a gain of about 10 yards. Worked on further now. Through from McGinley. Taken by Krejci. Handed on across once more to Hamilton. Shooting one. Directed. Score! The overtime winner for the Bruins. May have been tipped in front by Iginla, thrown by Hamilton, and we will get the official on that for you. But the Bruins take the series back to Boston for Game 5 Saturday afternoon with a chance.
You heard that Saturday afternoon, Game 5.
At 3 p.m. And this is again
Don't miss
being
it.
another good series. Detroit, I thought, was ranked way too low. I thought that the rankings coming to the playoffs, I thought Columbus was a true 8 seed. Mind you, they're showing me right now that they shouldn't be an 8 seed. But Detroit has just played. They played good hockey in Game 1. I mean, they've looked a bit flat the last couple of games. Series being 3-1 heading into tomorrow's game. What do you guys think about the series? Sort of obviously Game 1 it looked like Detroit was going to really take it to 7 games. How about now?
I don't even know if I would say that I thought that after the first game. I mean, Detroit only won the first game 1-0, and yeah, that's really impressive that they were able to completely shut them out in the first game. But a 1-0 game, to me, it's impressive. But seeing the way Boston has played in the last 3 games, or I guess the next 3 games after that first one, I honestly did not think Detroit was going to come out of this, and I still don't think that they're going to come out of the series. I picked Boston from the get-go, but they've been, I think, even more so than the teams in the West, they've been the most impressive team in hockey this season.
I think the Zetterberg move into the lineup yesterday, I wouldn't say it was a panic move. Everyone was saying that he was probably not going to be available until the second round series, and right now it doesn't look like there will be a second round. But he looked tired yesterday after the first period. He looked good in that first period, had a bit of energy, but he looked flat. I think they've brought him back a bit too early. Obviously, when you're facing I know they're only facing a 2-1 deficit, but they were outplayed severely in those last 2 games. I feel like Zetterberg might not bring what they need to win the series, but I feel like they made the right move bringing him back early. Having a captain back in the lineup just gives you more leadership.
Even when he looked that tired?
Yeah, no, I agree too. I don't really think it was a desperation move. I think if it had been 3-1, it would have been a desperation move, but 2-1 is more of like they're just trying to be proactive in trying to get back on top and tie up the series. And, you know, they obviously by taking it to overtime yesterday, they were very close to doing that. But for as good a team as Detroit is, and, you know, they're still playing pretty good hockey, it's just Boston is just that good this year, I think.
I thought, obviously, Jimmy Howard was out yesterday with the flu. I thought that Gustafsson played very well in his absence. But Detroit has they've had these injuries this year. Boston was the hottest team in hockey throughout March, and they looked semi-decent, sort of start April. But you just have to look at just as far as how a team plays over the course of the entire season. And Boston was the better team. They're firing on all cylinders. And Tuukka Rask, as I was saying earlier, he's got a .966 save percentage through these 4 games, and he's been unstoppable. As he was last year, you see these goaltenders just get on hot streaks. And I feel like Boston might run into a problem. They might not even get it out of this series. I don't know, but you just have to look at how the team plays, and the team that's playing the hottest right now is Boston.
Now, let me ask you this, Chris, since you are a Boston fan, you follow them a little bit more closely than Daisy and I do. Do you think that Boston is peaking too early? That because they have been playing so well, especially at the end of the regular season and into this first round of the playoffs, do you think that they're going to be able to keep up this kind of play to make it all the way to a cup final?
I feel like it's hard when you know, as we saw that the Pens had this year, when you already know that you're guaranteed the playoffs, you're guaranteed that first seed. They'll guarantee that first seed with, I think, 7 games left in the season. It's very hard to keep motivated, and you have to start looking at resting your players and doing all that. We saw the Penguins last year obviously dominated the regular season, and when it came close to the playoffs, rested their players. But the Penguins got to the finals of the Eastern Conference. St. Louis lost their way a bit towards the end of the season. But I feel like you can't peak too early. You can peak too early and you start to rest. I think Boston lost 3 out of their last 6 games, just resting players. But when the playoffs start, players can click it back on. Coaching staff, everything, they have a playoff scenario. They have that mentality. I feel like any team, not just Boston, when you know your position and you have nothing to gain from it, I feel like it's very hard to really benefit out of that.
Yeah, and I agree. And I definitely think that one other thing that Boston might have going for them is, like you said earlier, the injuries to Detroit. I think if Detroit would have had all of their star players healthy for a longer period of time, this would have been a closer series. Because, when you sit out for that long, it takes you a couple games to get adjusted to being back in the flow of the game. And you don't really have time to adjust whenever you're in the playoffs. But yeah, no, that's...
I feel like
I have to agree with your analysis on that.
And if Boston does win this series, that Montreal series is almost as big as the Stanley Cup for the franchise, and due to the way Montreal has played Boston this year, they've had their measure in every asset.
Oh yeah, it's comparable to the feelings that we get as Penguins fans against the Flyers. I'm sure you kind of have the same sentiments towards the Habs, and the way things are looking right now. It's probably going to be a Bruins-Habs matchup in the second round.
I'm really hoping that Tampa Bay can really work out of that 4-0 deficit they find themselves in.
Okay, maybe
right
next
now.
year.
Yeah.
Coming in the 2015 NHL playoffs.
Wait, it's a 7-game series?
Oh, yeah.
How do you feel? I have to ask you this as a Bruins fan, because this man is just so fascinating to me, and I must be his slapper and witnessing that and stuff. How do you feel about Zdeno Chara's play so far?
I feel like an analyst brought in today. I feel like
Straight from Australia.
He's so excited to talk about the Bruins right now.
No, we here at the Power Play are a neutral fans.
Unbiased.
Just because we're based in Pittsburgh doesn't mean that we're all Penguins fans. I feel like he's played well in this series. Not having Seidenberg next to him for most of this second half of the season has really hurt. But his leadership and he's strong around the net. He hasn't scored yet in these playoffs. But I feel like his leadership and just he takes away the most dangerous offensive figure on that team. And he's done that this series.
He's very dangerous.
He's a bit tall too. But I feel like he's sold. If the Bruins lose Zdeno Chara in the playoffs, they're in deep trouble. He's that rock in the defense, which every team has that top defenseman that you have. And I feel like if they lose Chara, obviously losing the captain, but losing their number one defenseman would hurt them severely.
Has he missed any games this season due to injury or any? Do you know anything off the top of your head?
I know he missed the game against St. Louis for the Olympic ceremony, and
that doesn't count.
That doesn't count, but that team looked a bit different without him defensively. Obviously, you can't take your best defenseman out of the team and expect to play half. I won't say half as good. Obviously, when everyone has injuries and you have to substitute players, but he's the key to this playoffs. Between himself and Tuukka Rask, that defense is in their hands.
Yeah, I agree with you. He is the rock of that team right now. And, kind of like I said earlier, defense is very important to winning games. And you have to credit Boston's success in this first round series to having him on your blue line.
Going a bit sentimental here. I was watching the game the other day, obviously, and one of my favorite names in the NHL, by the way, at the end of the game, gave his stick to this young kid that was just off the side of the entrance, and they spoke to the kid the day after, and he brought it into show and tell.
Aww.
And the kid was just absolutely ecstatic. And I feel like, as just a general interest story, you love to see players doing nice things like that, even if it's just in the moment. It was just something nice to see. I gave Detroit. I gave Tutu. I gave him some credit there.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. I've been at like the Open Penguins practices when they'll toss the pucks over the glass and the net to the kids that are all standing around.
My brother still tries for that at 18.
I love seeing stuff like that, and I think even just seeing those athletes interact with the younger kids that are giving their time to come out and support the team. It just almost kind of restores my faith in humanity a little bit. That it's they don't have to do that kind of stuff for their fans, but when they do, I think that is what builds your fan base. Not just winning games and being successful, but the little things like that are really going to help.
Are you good on Boston?
Isn't that the only team playing in the Eastern Conference?
Oh, okay.
I had them in the final. I'll give you that. I do.
I feel like the biggest issue that what's in the Eastern Conference right now is Pittsburgh and Columbus. That series, I feel like, has the most riding on it. Not as far as just for a franchise, but you have a coach who's potentially 2 games away from not being in this town anymore.
Should we talk about that when we come back here in a second? And no, we're all going to have a lot to say about it.
I gotta get my thoughts together. We gotta go to break.
Daisy, to go towards a break, everyone.
We gotta... I need to get
my... The Sess pants are back on.
I quit. No, you do it. Your turn.
I feel like we should all take turns saying that this is our last show. So, Katie, can you please send us off?
We will be back after this short break, and we all get our sassy pants and our thoughts together to talk about the Pittsburgh and Columbus matchup.
Oh, no. We'll be right back.